Hello everyone and welcome to the Luna Listening Podcast, your monthly Amazon Luna Gaming Cloud podcast where we round up all the cloud gaming news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Plays Games, and also available up there in the digital clouds on your podcast preference of choice. You're joining myself, Chris, alongside my two wonderful co-hosts. Joining me up here on the moon, the man of many pixels who you may recognise from the XPass Xbox podcast, Mr. Richie. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. I was going to correct you saying, it's in the clouds, but we're above the clouds in this show.
Does the moon have clouds?
No, it doesn't have an atmosphere.
Poor moon, poor moon. Always getting shafted by those planets out there with their clouds and atmospheres. And joining us as always, our chaotic neutral Rob. Welcome to the Luna Listening Podcast.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be on the moon. It's the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism.
In space. We're here, boys and girls, to talk about Amazon Luna. If you're not familiar with Amazon Luna, it is the cloud gaming platform offered by Amazon. You may have heard of them. Small startup company, logistics, usually deal with deliveries
books
and things, TV shows, books, that kind of thing. Yeah, small startup company. No, of course, we joke. They have a massive AWS server network that runs around the globe, and they now bring us cloud gaming in a cable service format. Now available in the United States, the UK, Canada, and Germany, hoping for a wider expansion in the near future. And we thought we'll get together here on the channel because our channel, at the end of the day, did start in the world of cloud gaming. We brought you a Google Stadia podcast for 160 consecutive weeks, every week, rounding up the Google Stadia news and cloud gaming chatter for your listening viewing pleasure. But we're here now to change the colour palette to purple a little bit. And we always said right from the very beginning, Richie, when we founded the channel and we started talking about games for a hobby, is that Amazon Luna was always on our radar. And we so far as went to commissioning artwork and a video introduction and a soundtrack, and we had everything lined up, and it just never expanded beyond the United States for nearly 2 years, it felt like.
Yeah, the expectation was, this goes back to before we launched Talking the PS.
Mm-hmm.
We were looking to do an Amazon Luna podcast at that point, because Amazon Luna was the rumours were coming that it's coming out of beta, I was like, okay, when it comes out of beta, we were expecting a global launch. It came out of beta, and then basically nothing seemingly changed. So it's like, well, we can't justify us doing a podcast on a platform that we can interact with.
Yeah.
So we shelved that and we came up with Talking the PS and then XPass, and we finally got here.
We are here. And we should stress that the cadence for this is, while Amazon Luna is still quite new, it's only rolling out to certain countries. The UK is one of them. I myself have a lovely Amazon Luna controller here. I've been playing a little bit of it, which we'll get into as part of the show. But we wanted to get together kind of on a monthly basis. We feel like that is the best cadence for this show at the moment, to round up the game news, the chatter, anything we're playing at the moment, and just kind of create a hub and a community for fans of Amazon Luna, because we saw with Google Stadia, there's some fantastic people out there who really, really embrace cloud gaming and detaching themselves from the physical hardware of a console and just enjoying games wherever they can play them, really. And that is the benefit that Amazon Luna brings. So it's out in the UK. We're going to talk about a little bit on this show, its performance, its accessibility, the controllers in themselves, and what our kind of hopes and dreams are, and more importantly, the games, because that's what we're all here for, to talk about video games. So then, before we dive into all of that, of course, thank you to all of our viewers and listeners, the wonderful people who support the channel. Don't forget to click like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the content we do here at Helix Plays Games, because, as mentioned earlier, we do much, much more. We have live streams, Let's Plays every single week. We have our Talking the PS PlayStation podcast goes live. We have XPass, our Xbox podcast, and right now we have the Luna Listening podcast. And you can join and be a member of the channel, where you get this show, Talking the PS, and all of the bunch of other content, stickers, badges a little bit earlier too. Gentlemen, this past week we've been doing some live streams. Speaking of cloud gaming, nothing of the sort. You guys jumped into probably one of the oldest games you could find out there, Command & Conquer Red Alert 2 Yuri's Revenge, for some nostalgia, some of those member berries, which are purple, I will say. Enjoy your time with that this past week?
I was honestly, me trying to explain the lore and storyline of Red Alert 2 Yuri's Revenge to a newcomer to the series in Richie was an experience like no other. Like, it was just incredible. Oh, like there's like this Soviet defector who can control people's minds, who has now taken over Hollywood. I don't know what the actual end goal he has. It's just to take over the world, I think.
Yeah, there was time travel involved and nuclear. We had to get enough power to power our time machine so we could go back to stop Yuri.
And get Einstein right? Does he collect Einstein along the way?
Yeah,
that's a thing.
He gets kidnapped.
He gets kidnapped, of course.
The one thing you didn't actually get to experience, Richie, is on the first Soviet mission, you use the time machine but go too far back in time to the dinosaurs age and have to fend off a lot of T-Rexes.
Yeah, that is a thing that happened. Oh, you couldn't write it. Shout out to Westwood Studios and EA back in the day. Because, we play plenty of stuff. There is a couple of live streams up on the channel that are specific to Amazon Luna as well. Richie, you're actually toying with the idea of doing a Batman Arkham Knight.
Yep. I will do something at some point, whether it's a live stream or pre-recorded first look. I haven't decided. Need to look at the scheduling, what games are coming out. But I've never played Arkham Knight, and that is... Well, it's in the news for this week, so...
It certainly is. So keep locked to the channel for live streams. There is a 2-hour live stream of myself. I dabbled in a couple of things using the 7-day free trial before I subscribed to Luna Plus, which is the monthly subscription package that they offer. And we'll do a couple more pieces of content on the channel as that goes on, but you need to keep it locked so you're kept in with our live streams. Maybe some more Command & Conquer. Maybe it'll come to the clouds eventually. But let's get into the thicket of the show, gentlemen. Let's talk about what exactly Amazon Luna is. For those who are inundated, those who've maybe stumbled across this podcast thinking, I've heard of Amazon Luna, but I'm not too sure about what it is exactly. Essentially, you need to get yourself online. That's all you need, the internet. And using the power of either an Amazon Luna controller, a Bluetooth controller of your choosing, a mouse and keyboard through a browser, you can access games via the cloud using the power of the internet. They just stream to your device of choice, whether that be a mobile phone, a tablet, or a desktop PC. Essentially anything that has the internet and a capable screen and controller input, you can jump onto and play. And the key difference from Amazon Luna to your traditional video gaming, where you would purchase a game, you would play it, is it's more like a cable service TV package. You can opt in for what Luna have described as channels. You've got Luna Plus, which was Amazon's kind of core TV package, essentially. You've got Ubisoft Plus, which is the offering of all the Ubisoft titles, the Gold Edition, Deluxe Editions, which come with all the bells and whistles. There once was a retro channel, which we could probably get into. They've actually scrapped that now, I believe, and it's been folded into Amazon Luna Plus. So that's one of the channels that's already gone and kind of been folded into the main one. But essentially, you subscribe to one of these channels, you get a slew of games listed within them, and you play them to your heart's content. And once you're done with them, you just opt out of the subscription and you stop playing. And when you want back in for a certain title or a specific genre, you opt in again and resubscribe. And just like cable TV, you have a sports package for maybe a season, you scrap it, you opt for the movie package, you watch a couple of movies, you scrap it, and rinse and repeat. And that's the kind of approach that Amazon have taken. You can't buy the games a la carte, you are just renting them essentially via a subscription service and streaming them in the cloud. Richie, we've got some thoughts on this because, of course, we are... Again, Google Stadia fans from the beginning. We like the a la carte approach of purchasing games. Has your stance changed at all on subscription models? Now you've been in maybe Game Pass and cloud gaming for almost coming up a year now?
Not really, because my stance is largely choice is the key thing here. So with like Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation and Google Stadia previously, I always liked the choice where you could just go in and buy the game that you wanted to play. But I've also always been an advocate of Ubisoft Plus because if you're not bothered about keeping the game or just like quote unquote owning it, realistically you own a license, but that's a different podcast entirely. I'll always like the option because there's been times when I've played a Ubisoft title and I went, you know what, it makes more financial sense for me to just activate Ubisoft Plus, play the game, when I'm done, cancel it, and while I'm there, I can access all these other games. But I also like to have the option to just buy a game when I want to buy that game. So it's horses for courses, really. But for me, choice is always the key. When you provide people choice, that's the best way to go about it from a consumer point of view.
Yeah.
I'm not against the channel system.
Yeah, well, the channel system's great in one regard, how it can just encompass anything. I know they got rid of the retro channel, but they've got a Jackbox Games channel at the moment where you subscribe to that and you essentially get access to all 5 Jackbox games available on the platform. And that would be the case if you would subscribe to it for the month and you would play them at maybe a house party, something like we've done in the past. And then once the party's over and you move on, you just unsubscribe. And then you would go about your business with other games without having to put down like the £30, £40, $50, whatever it may be, to buy an individual title. You're just renting it for the short time that you need it. Blockbuster style.
Thing, like, if I had you guys around here for some drinks and we'd say, "I want to play a Jackbox," I'd buy the I'd subscribe to the Jackbox channel, no problems, because these are games that I don't necessarily need to always have in my library. And then we'd have a great time with it. I think there's something to be said from the channel system as being helping you be exposed to new titles as well. Titles that you might not have given a chance to. We've praised Game Pass for that. We've praised Stadia Pro for that. We've praised PlayStation Plus for that. Where because you've, like as I mentioned with Ubisoft Plus, you might be interested in Assassin's Creed Mirage. So I'll get Ubisoft Plus. I've got Assassin's Creed Mirage, and you find yourself playing something completely different that you never expected to jump into because you have access to it. Maybe you end up playing Rainbow Six Siege. You've always been interested, but you never got round to it. Well, it's there because of it. Beyond Good and Evil, there's a title that's on Ubisoft Plus on Luna. Will Beyond Good and Evil 2 ever come out? No one knows.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, that's a sort of title where it's like, I don't think I'd buy that game.
Yeah.
But if we finally got a release date for Beyond Good and Evil 2, now I've literally just seen it in the library on Luna. I was like, maybe I'll jump in at that point.
It's
playing Assassin's Creed Mirage or Far Cry 87 or whatever it's happening.
They're up to 7. But that is the kind of the benefit of subscription service. It's almost
Beyond Good and Evil here. God knows when
true.
Out.
It's almost like spoilt for choice, isn't it? Because you have everything given to you in just one big go, and then you jump in itself. Rob, in terms of Amazon Luna itself, subscription models aside, is there any big titles, talking about the games, that stand out for you so far on Luna?
I mean, for me, it has to be as a Capcom fan and more specific, like Resident Evil. Like having Resident Evil 2 and 3 on there is great for like a starting point for me. Those 2 games will kind of will have consumed the majority of my gaming time on Luna. It'd be nice if there was 4 on there, but hey ho, maybe in the future.
Yeah, I guess that's what we should probably get into a little bit, is our time spent so far. So I, on the live stream, dabbled in a couple of things. I played the ukulele. The Impossible Lair is perfect for kind of using my phone. You can use this with, again, a Razer Kishi, plug it in, a controller via Bluetooth. It works fantastically. The Luna controller is great for kind of that direct cloud input. And my big focus now is probably Batman Arkham Knight. I've played a little bit of Sonic, like you do. You always jump in. I see Sonic Mania, and I'm like, I have to jump in and play that. But yeah, no surprise. Resident Evil 2 and 3 are probably arguably the biggest titles on the entire platform right now.
I'd say so.
Arguably between
especially
looking at the
2.
library. Oh yeah, absolutely 2. And that was always a big thing back when we were playing on Stadia, is that they got Village and they got Biohazard 7, but then they never got 2 and 3. And then to see Luna coming out with that, and then ironically now, Richie, Arkham Knight, that was running on Stadia Tech for an AT&T random promotion back in 2020 or 2021, and here it is. So yeah, between the games that are available, there's a couple of things to check out, but I think between the Resident Evil games and probably some of the Ubisoft titles, that's the biggest echelon up the ladder you're looking at for
Ubisoft
Luna.
are the biggest, like the way of Stadia, Ubisoft are the biggest supporter of this.
Absolutely, undoubtedly all in on cloud gaming. A big curiosity I've got to throw out there as well is performance. So it runs, for me personally, the same as Google Stadia. There's a 2-hour live stream up of me playing a couple of different varieties of games, and similar to cloud gaming in general over the last 3+ years since I've dipped my toes in the water of cloud gaming, is it just works for me. Like, I don't have the fastest internet, but I've got capable internet. It varies between 100 to 200 meg for me, depending on how nice Virgin Media are being to me in the moment. And I play it on my phone. I play it on my desktop PC. I traditionally would stream it through the TV on a tablet with a Bluetooth controller, and it works great. Like, I had no noticeable latency on a variety of titles, from platformers to shooters to racing games. And yeah, they all ran great for me. How about you, Rob? How's Resident Evil been running in comparison to the PS5 version? Because you've been playing 4 recently on PS5, right?
Yeah. So obviously there's always there's going to be a performance difference between hardware and cloud at this point in its life cycle. That's kind of to be expected. But we always looked at Google Stadia as the kind of the benchmark for how for performance in cloud gaming, and I think Luna lives up to it. It got to a point where there were certain points in the game where obviously you get super immersed in Resident Evil 2 in certain scenes, and I kind of forgot I was in the cloud for a little bit, which is the standard you want to hit when you are doing cloud gaming. So yeah, I've again not the greatest internet, but it's kind of capable for where I live. I'd say it's very average for the UK, and yeah, it worked great. I have no qualms about kind of recommending it to people.
That's
Yeah,
the dream, right? It's just if it's unmistakable to native console gaming, then it works.
Yeah,
That's it. I mean, this is what we've always kind of heard from our friends over in America who've had access to it since it initially launched, that the performance is on par with Google Stadia. And that's my experience as well.
It's
on par.
even better now.
Yeah, if you put a title running on cloud next to a title running natively on top end like a PS5 or Xbox Series X, or even more so on a PC, so if you A/B them, you can tell a difference.
Yeah.
If you A/B them in terms of probably feel, you might even be able to tell a difference there. But if you just go into it without without having it playing the game on another platform and go, any slight reduction in graphical fidelity, you very quickly stop caring about if it's a good game. We had this with Valheim, Rob, didn't we? Whereas initially game looked ugly as hell, but you stop caring. You just don't care if you're having fun. So it's good. This is it. Graphically, it's good enough. And the performance in terms of, if you're a proper top end hardcore esports player, cloud gaming isn't for you.
Yeah. And you know that.
Let's just be fair on that one. You know that.
Yeah.
What you want there is the best PC you can possibly get your hands on. You're spending probably £2,000 on a PC. Half of that is your graphics card alone, if not more, because you want every edge you can.
Yeah.
Cloud gaming is for casuals.
Absolutely.
It's about accessibility. It's about getting people in who can't afford the £500 box to put on the TV. It's about opening up gaming so you can just, I'm playing at home on my TV, put down the controller, strap a key sheet to my phone or a backbone or whatever you have, or even just direct touch, and then continue on your commute into work or on your lunch break.
It's the convenience. The convenience outshines the performance in a lot of regards. And for me, that was what I loved about cloud gaming to start with. It's the fact that I can take these AAA quality games on the move, and I can jump from platform. It's platform in terms of which screen I'm using, time and time again, and pick up the same save file, play it in various different factors. And as you said, Richie, without having to fork out the upfront cost.
It's not even picking up the same save file. It's just changing what screen you're looking at. That was, do you remember in the launch of Google Stadia, and he went through the list?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm playing on this PC, then he picks up a controller, now I'm playing on TV, and he picks up a phone, now I'm playing on there, and it's just that seamless transition.
That's the dream. That's the dream. So performance wise, doing it fine. I will still say, in comparison to some of the xCloud or Xbox Cloud gaming that we've done here on the channel, there's plenty of live streams up available now. There's still noticeably probably on par, if not a little bit better quality. I didn't notice as much screen tearing during my time with Luna so far as sometimes in the Xbox world we get almost a bit of a screen refresh where the scan lines come down. Not as much.
I've not noticed that. Once or twice I did for early days, but that's something that's affected you more than me, which is weird because we literally have the same internet provider and we're in the same town.
Yeah, but
I don't. That's one of them things I've never fully understood why, but you do see that more than I do.
Absolutely. And then the biggest thing to kind of bring all this round is the games, and that's the conversation that I really want to talk about, because we did 160 episodes of a Google Stadia podcast, and it got to a point where we were lamenting the games list. And I'm going to be honest, cards on the table, the Stadia library to this day, obviously it's dead now, so it's kind of a moot point, but I still think it's better than Amazon Luna's. I don't think there's enough games in this library right now, and with seemingly nothing in the pipeline, as Rob alluded to, Resident Evil 2 and 3, no 4. Full launch. Full is one of the biggest game launches of this year. Not present. We're looking at games here. Ubisoft library is fantastic. Do we know if Assassin's Creed Mirage is confirmed for later this year? It's one of those things. Jedi Survivor. We had Jedi Fallen Order on Stadia. Obviously, it never got a chance to launch Jedi Survivor. That's the game the three of us are probably going to be playing in the next couple of weeks, months. Where is it? And then this is the kind of the conversation that it will always come back to. Performance is awesome. Controller is awesome. Channel cable service approach, probably questionable, but
depends on your preference. That's
absolutely.
Purely how do you like to pay for stuff?
But when it comes down to the games, I think we're all on the same page, right? Where it needs to improve still, right off the bat. It launched a couple of weeks ago in the UK. It launched in the States nearly 2 years ago now.
I think there is some great titles that people should play outside of Ubisoft. As I said earlier, Ubisoft, I do think, is still doing the heavy lifting, and that was one of the criticisms of Stadia.
100%. Control's a fantastic game. It's one of my favourite games the last few years. All the Assassin's Creed games.
Sonic Mania. Overcook's there. We got Arkham Knight. Trails from Zero. I basically encountered like Falcom games because of Stadia. Like Ace was my first Falcom game. Ace 8 was my first Falcom game. Came to Stadia and I really enjoyed it. And I've since played a few other games. I played Ace 9. I've played Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel 1. Bought that on PS4 because this is what I mean. Like these subscription services, these channels can sometimes get you into games that you never expected to play. I'm seeing Trails from Zero there. That is part of the Luna Plus subscription. So that might be one I play on Luna. Yeah,
that's it. It's variety is the spice of life, but at the same time,
90 as well.
That's not bad.
Good game.
So variety is obviously great, but even though I like trying new foods and doing different things, I still like a decent meal from time to time. And if they ain't getting any AAA games for this year, then this is where the problems started to build up for Stadia. And I cannot imagine the team over at Amazon Luna sat there well and truly understanding that games are what people are coming for. Like the casual audience is one thing, but they're still gamers. They're still opted in for a gaming platform to some degree. And that's what I would like to see evolve and change over the coming years, because we know they've come under some criticism for games leaving, which is something that never happened on Stadia. The titles never left the platform. They're there, well, Football Manager aside, they stayed there in perpetuity. You bought the game, you owned the game. And yet with Luna, we've seen many, many titles actually disappear off the platform in recent months. And I know our friends over at Cloud Dosage have covered that. And it's potentially worrying because they don't really talk about the games leaving. They just kind of just up and gone. And if the library ain't getting that bigger, it ain't getting that much bigger, and it's starting to shrink, you got to start asking questions about, well, why do I keep subscribing every month if there's no new games to play? Moving on, though, I will move into the new games that are coming in May, because we do have some new ones lined up. If you could introduce us to the
loosely
listed
Luna
listening
legislation,
aka
the news in space,
because that's where the moon is. Amazon blog reading from that this week. I specifically asked you guys not to read them in the doc, because I just want you guys to guess. So the first main game, separate from the rest, is Tormented Souls. This is a classic survival horror. Tormented Souls, players must investigate the disappearance of twin girls in a terrifying mansion turned hospital, inspired by the original Resident Evil and Alone in the Dark series. Tormented Souls modernizes horror with a fresh twist on a fixed camera perspective throughout the game, solve puzzles and face sinister enemies in their relentless nightmare. Tormented Souls will be available on Luna Plus in May. Rated M for mature. That's the main one. Resident Evil vibes. I love it. Any kind of inspired RE content is good in my book. The one I want to move on, though, is the rest of the games coming in May. So bear in mind, Jedi Survivor out there, everyone else is playing, Hogwarts Legacy, all that kind of jazz. The first one is Retro Classics, with an X, Breakthrough. What do we think this is, guys? What do you think?
Actually,
Retro Classic Breakthrough. What game do you suspect this is? Having never seen it before.
Racing game, maybe.
Richie, any advances?
With it being retro classics, I'm thinking one of them like breakout games where you got like the bar and the ball pops up to destroy the blocks. I'm thinking that kind of era of gaming, like Atari sort of era sort stuff.
Retro classic breakthrough. Players must recover a captured fighter jet from deep within enemy territory in Data
Nowhere
East
near.
thrilling arcade land-based shump, whatever shump means. The excitement never stops as players break through enemy lines with a high-speed vehicle capable of blowing away enemy forces and leaping across chasms. Retro classic breakthrough will be available on Luna Plus in May. So that's that one. Moving on, we've got retro classics. Express Raider. What do we think Express Raider is?
Oh god, I have no idea. I mean, I was fairly confident with breakthrough.
Is it like a parcel
Um,
delivery game? Like Paperboy in the original NES. Is it like a parcel delivery version of that?
It's a point-and-click adventure where you play as a schoolgirl looking for a rabbit.
No, I don't know how you would get that from Express Raider. That's weird.
Well,
That says
breakthrough was nowhere near.
that says more about you. Express Raider players' reflexes and speed will be put to the test as they work to beat levels within an allotted time. Players will need to dust off their boots and be fast on the trigger during bank robberies, shootouts on horseback, and rooftop fights. This side-scrolling arcade beat-em-up classic proves that life as an outlaw in the Wild West ain't easy. Available on Luna Plus from May. Yeah, so it's a Wild West side-scrolling beat-em-up. Express Raider. Next up, retro classics, Super Real Darwin. Have at it, gents. What's that?
So I think this is a game produced by like some religious fundamentalists who it's like a satirical version of Charles Darwin's life, where it's like, oh guys, this is Super Real Darwin game, okay?
It's like you play as Charles Darwin walking around the Galapagos Islands, painting different finches to look slightly different, so you can say, "Look, evolution."
No, but yeah, basically, yeah, and it's like a unmasking of the scam of Charles Darwin. That's what I think it is.
It's like the equivalent of Charles Darwin's story. When you remember Peter did like a Pokemon clone.
I've
It's
no
like
idea.
that sort of game.
You'll be surprised to hear you're both wrong. In retro classic Super Real Darwin, players must take control of fighter ship capable of mutating into different shapes as it evolves while fighting off enemy invaders. Super Real Darwin is a fast-paced vertical scrolling shoot 'em up that rewards skill and persistence. A cult classic for the retro shmup fan. What's a shmup fan? Is that shoot 'em up? Shmup.
Shoot 'em up, yeah.
I hate that
Right.
term. I hate that term.
I'm looking at the Steam store page. Apparently, in the comments, this apparently was originally released in 1987. So I want to know, like, in like the comments below in our video, like, or like in our Discord server, if you're listening on podcast servers, have you played any of these games? Because it's entirely possible we've played these in random arcades. You know, when you're on holiday and there'd just be one arcade cabinet there,
Mhm.
and because you're a child, you're not even playing the games, you're just hitting the buttons because your mum wouldn't give you any money.
Oh yeah, just smashing the demo
Yeah, I'm
screen.
sure we've probably seen these stuff at some point.
Undoubtedly. And the final one being added to Amazon Luna Plus. Remember, this is because I think the retro channel was folded into Luna Plus.
Yeah.
This is where these titles come from. Retro classics, Wizard Fire. What do we think Wizard Fire is, Richie?
I'm thinking this is going to be like a Contra clone. You're going through the jungle and with your trusty rifle, which is you've named Wizard.
Okay, Rob?
I would say this is a Harry Potter ripoff brought to you by the organisers of the
80s.
Fire Festival.
Yeah, well before Harry Potter was even first thought of. Wizard Fire. Retro classic Wizard Fire is set in the 4th century AD in the Empire of Owl, where the evil wizard Xenon plans to sacrifice 100, get it right, Chris, innocent lives to open up the Dragon Shrine. Players can play in single player or 2-player mode and choose from 5 unique characters, including the Knight, the Wizard, the Bard, the Dwarf, and the Elf. Each character brings a unique set of skills, weapons, and talents to the battlefield to cut down hordes of skeletons, ghouls, kobolds, and more. Retro Classics Fire will be available on Luna Plus in May. So I think, Richie, you are probably the nearest with your
I mean, this is
Contra
probably
clone.
the one that's probably the one that's named the closest to what it actually offers. But can I point out as well the classes: the Knight, the Wizard, the Bard, actual classes, the dwarf and the elf. Like,
Races.
this is like South Park level humor. It's like,
So the game's coming to Luna Plus. Obviously, maybe a lot to be desired unless you are a classic gamer fan this week. And that's what goes back to, it's great if you subscribe to it and want to check these out, but is this going to create that longevity for coming back time and time again?
I mean, Steam thinks this is similar to Torchlight 2. According to my Steam profile.
Both ways. Far away as you want it to.
If you like Torchlight 2, go play Wizard Fire and Luna.
But thankfully, the great thing with Amazon Luna is that it does come with a monthly free list of games if you are an Amazon Prime subscriber. So no doubt many of our viewers and listeners out there have Amazon Prime. You like your free deliveries. You have your Prime TV for all of your wonderful shows, like Jack Ryan, and I can't even remember anything else. The Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings.
Picard.
The what?
What? Picard?
Oh, Picard. Oh,
You're such a nerd, right?
In my mind, Picard wasn't always on Amazon, was it? Was it on Discovery or something initially? Or I'm thinking of Star Trek Discovery. Was that on Netflix and then moved over to Paramount or something?
Like
That's so annoying. Either way, if you're a Prime subscriber, you also get a free rotation of games on Luna at no additional cost. So you don't actually need to subscribe to any channels. You can just play games if you are a Prime subscriber. Up this month, we have Lego DC Supervillains, the DC Universe. It's good to be bad. And in Lego DC Supervillains, players must become the best villain in the universe they've ever seen, wreaking havoc and unleashing mischievous antics in the new adventure. Set in an open world experience, the Justice League has disappeared, leaving a bunch of misfits proclaimed as the Justice Syndicate in charge of Earth's protection. Fun little Lego game. Plays the bad guys for a change. It's Telltale Games, not Telltale, Take-Two, Traveller's Tales, got there eventually. So many games companies with TT at the start. Pulling together Batman's greatest villains, essentially. Following on from that, we've also got Resident Evil 2 in the wake of RE4, launching on all consoles and platforms except for Amazon Luna. RE2 players join Leon S. Kennedy, a rookie police officer who's about to have the worst day on the job ever. Claire Redfield, a college student on her way to Raccoon City in search of her missing brother, brought together in a torn-apart, disastrous outbreak in Raccoon City that's transformed the population into deadly zombies. Don't need to say any more about Resident Evil 2. It's one of the best games of all time. Probably the best, if not horror game of all time. Up there.
Yeah.
Up there.
Definitely in the mix.
Great get. Richie, we're absolutely big, massive fans of the next game. Overcooked. You and your fellow chefs must prepare, cook, and serve up the variety of tasty orders before being customers storm out in a huff, sharpen your knives, and dust off your chef's whites. There isn't much room for error, and the stakes are high in this crazy kitchen adventure. We both have such a good spot for Overcooked 2. It's one of the best couch co-op games, I think, in the last 10, 15 years, I would say.
Yeah, so fun.
Absolutely. And then the final game is Time on Frog Island. This one is players awake to find their ship in pieces after braving a terrible storm and crashing on a nearby island filled with frogs. A spaghetti network of trades covers the island as players seek out materials to fix their boat, solving head-scratching puzzles, searching for hidden treasures, and much, much more. Getting to know the froggy locals has never been more fun. Time on Frog Island will be available to Prime members in May. So that brings us to a kind of a wrap on the games available. We're getting a spattering of new retro games if you were subscribed to Luna Plus, and we're getting a list of games that are already on the service to some degree, but tied in with your Prime gaming subscription. I think we are all on the same page, thinking that the Prime offering is substantially better than the Plus offering, maybe.
Yeah, I think unless you've played the classic games and this is kind of throwback, but these are they are like late 80s titles, which they predate us.
They do.
So
Not by much.
if you are into them games, I think there could be some things like really special. Go, oh my God, I remember playing these games in the arcade when I was a kid. Have at it. But I think, the Prime games are, I think Resident Evil 2, Lego DC Supervillains, Overcooked, and Time on Frog Island. You wouldn't, if that was PlayStation Plus, you'd be okay with that.
Yeah. It's a really good offering. You got your AAA title, you've got your family-friendly one, you've got your couch co-op, and you've got your random indie title thrown in the mix as well.
Which has got mostly positive reviews on Steam.
Indeed. And of course, this is included with Prime subscribers, which, are we all Amazon Prime subscribers? I am.
I'm not at the moment. I turn it on and off as required.
And on and off. So, bunch of new games. The final thing I wanted then to round out the podcast for those who again tuned in for this inaugural show is kind of what we'd like to see with Luna in the imminent future. So they've rolled out to new countries, which a lot of people maybe weren't expecting would ever happen. They were thinking it was just going to hang around in the United States forever. It's now rolled out. We've got our controllers. We've got our Prime games to check out. The service runs great. You can play your games. You can check them out. I guess the kind of the leading point I'd like to know in the comments down below from our viewers and listeners, and for us three, is what you'd like to see happen next. So, Rob, I'll start with you. What would you like to see from the Amazon Luna team in the coming weeks and months?
So I'm not sure about the next weeks or months, but just generally what I wanted to see them do is take it a bit slow. So I don't want to see them do a big marketing push, because if they do a big marketing push, then there's big expectations on the results of that marketing. And I feel like that's a lot of the trap that Google Stadia fell into, was to try and push it too hard before the actual product was in a good place.
Oversell, under-deliver.
Essentially, yes. So it's the one thing not Microsoft, the one thing Amazon has always been good at is playing the long game and investing in products over the course of many years. And I'd like to see them continue that, like with Luna. So don't kind of set it up to fail initially. Again, the Stadia curse. Expand out into different countries, beef out the game library, and only then give it high expectations to perform as a product. So I'm very happy to see it kind of just crawl along for a bit more and slowly pick up speed.
I'm kind of in agreement. The one thing I would add is they need to be vocal about that being the plan, because this is where sometimes a lot of the criticism came on Stadia, where it was all, yeah, everything's great, everything's great. Then literally nothing would be coming to the platform. And then something that you just be hitting with these massive periods of silence. No, I don't think there's anything to do with the actual Stadia marketing team. I think it's just that their hands were kind of tied by Google. Basically, they weren't bringing stuff to the platform, and they were a bit too until they went. If you're going to take a slow growth approach, I think you need to communicate and go, look, we are in this for the long run.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to be dropping huge bags of cash left, right, and centre to get the latest and greatest AAAs day and date, but they will come. We are talking to EA to get Jedi Survivor. It will come to the platform. It's just not going to happen now.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of stuff I think you can't, just being honest with that sort of stuff, so people look at it and go, you need to be able to see the future of the platform if you're taking the long approach. Where Stadia got to the point where you're right, I think they completely overpromised at the start, didn't deliver on what they said, and that was always something that was held against them. But then they never really did enough to kind of change the narrative or explain to people how they're trying to change the narrative.
Silence is deadly.
Yeah,
when it comes to it.
It was. Yeah.
What about yourself, Chris?
Imminent future, I think marketing would go a long way, because since the launch in these wider countries, bar a few tweets and social media posts, I've not seen anything. Like, I work in the tech industry, and I've not seen any of my colleagues or any of our friends even be aware of its existence. Like, I've actively spoken to people on social media in the UK that it's out now. We've posted in Amazon Luna channels on Facebook, and still to this day, a lot of people don't even know it's out, because aside from me seeing something on Twitter, I think that was as far as it went. So actually letting people know it's live and out, or whether they're going for this slow approach or not, I do think optically Amazon needs to start marketing this. We used to give them insight in on our Stadia podcast about saying like what they could do differently, and one of them was always like they send out shipment boxes to millions of people every single month. That tape that covers that box, Amazon Luna promotion right there on every single parcel, every single package, every single letter.
It's passive marketing. It's not going to cost you more to put an Amazon Luna tape on there than it would an Amazon Prime tape. Yep. You're just printing a different thing on your tape.
Free trial, start today, Amazon.luna.com.
Everyone who gets it sees this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So marketing's definitely one. Games, we mentioned it halfway through the show, but that list of games coming for May does nothing for me. The Prime games are like leaps and bounds better. I haven't played Lego DC Supervillains before. I'm a big fan of Lego games, so that's definitely one for me. I've said time and time again on our other shows, Rob, about Resident Evil. I want to start my journey with the old school REs, and 2, then 3 are both available here. So that is my laser focused thing to check out. I know Richie's going to check out Arkham Knight, which is a fantastic game, Rocksteady's last game, and we love Overcooked. So the Prime games are terrific, but I don't need a subscription to pay for that because I already am a Prime customer. So they've already got me on that front. Are they retaining me as a Prime customer because of those games? No, I would have kept it regardless. So it's those little things that, again, don't fall foul of in a year's time we're sat here saying, we've not had this, we've not had that, whereas every other platform has. So that's a big thing for me. And just keep it up the great work. It performs fantastic. You've done the hard work. The performance of the platform is the hard work. It's the internet infrastructure. It's getting the systems, the behind-the-scenes stuff, all your ducks in a row to launch it. You've done it. It launched seamlessly. Now promote it. Now get the content. That's going to be the key over the next couple of months and years.
Yeah. I think a big thing they're in a strong position is they can look at the failures of Google Stadia. They can learn the lessons and take a different path.
And they can learn from what they did well, because Google Stadia did a lot of stuff right at the same time.
And you know what? The Amazon Luna team could just go through hundreds of episodes of Sounds of Stadia to see how, just start from episode 1 and listen to every single podcast on YouTube and podcast services around the globe. And you can just see how it declined over time and our enthusiasm. And then you can learn that lessons and make sure that doesn't happen here.
Yeah.
So watch Amazon Luna. I know you listen to this because your social media team's awesome. So watch every single episode of Sounds of Stadia.
No, don't do that. Don't waste your time. Stick it here. And the key thing for me is start to build that community. Their social media team, high praise. They do wonderful work at interacting with, I don't want to call them influencers, but fans, enthusiasts of their platform, people who are out there spreading positivity about their platform. I don't refer to myself as that. I'm a gamer who talks about video games. But again, people like us, anyone out there who's talking positive about your product, they've done great stuff to interact with them. Keep that going. Build on those foundations, because those are your key people who are so passionate about your platform. They'll spread word. They'll talk to their friends. They'll talk to the family. They'll talk to the colleagues. And that's free advertising. That's free marketing. If you don't do that, if your core community is soured, it goes south very, very quick. And if you don't have the games to back it up, performance dips, they're the first people, they're the last people, I should say, who turn. But if once they're gone, you won't get them back on board. So I think you're doing great work so far, but it's time to expand and grow. And hopefully we'll be here to cover it on the Luna Listening podcast, because we're big fans of cloud gaming. We've invested nearly 4 years of our time as a hobby, as gamers, in this platform. And we want to join you for the journey. So if you've enjoyed the show, don't forget to give the video a like. Ring that bell, subscribe, so you're kept in the loop with all the other great content we do here, all the PlayStation, Xbox live streams here on the channel with you, the wonderful community out there. Join our Discord if you want to talk to fellow cloud gamers and hardware gamers alike. There's plenty of people out there to get to know and grow. And there is actually a couple of Facebook pages as well out there. Shout out as well to Code Z, who created the awesome theme tune for the show. Special shout out there. Al Davis Music, doing some wonderful stuff. 2 of our shows now, he's penned musical talents too, so big shout out, awesome stuff. And then that's been it for the show. The inaugural episode of the Luna Listening podcast, available on youtube.com/Helix Plays Games. My name's been Chris.
I've been Richie.
And I've been Rob.
We've been Luna Listening. Take care and play wherever makes you the happiest. See you next time, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.